Okay, so today we're really diving into something that I think is super relevant right now. This whole idea that for businesses, doing good in the world, it's not just like a nice to have, it's actually becoming like crucial for
Yeah.
success. We hear a lot about corporate social responsibility, right, right.
Yeah.
But like, is that just a buzzword? Or is there actually something more meaningful happening? We've got some interesting stuff to dig into. We've got excerpts from a business article and this really thought-provoking TED Talk by, let me make sure I get her name right, Wendy Woods. She's a social impact strategist.
Yeah. It's definitely something that, businesses and consumers alike are grappling with. It's not as simple as it used to be.
It's not just about, like, slapping a feel-good label on something anymore.
Exactly. Consumers are getting more informed, more discerning.
Way more savvy. And speaking of, like, that awareness, there's this quote from former Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz, and he said, "It's not enough to be profitable. A company must be good. It must be responsible. It must be trustworthy."
Hmm.
But like in reality, do people really factor that in when they're like deciding between coffee brands?
Well, and that's the interesting thing, right? Because it speaks to this larger trend of, consumers today, they're looking beyond just the product. They're thinking about a company's values, their supply chains, their environmental impact, the whole picture.
Totally.
And there was this statistic, I think it was from the Edelman Trust Barometer, that said 64% of consumers are willing to spend more on products from socially responsible companies.
64%.
Yeah.
Wow, that's huge. So it's not just like a marketing thing. It's actually
Uh-huh.
impacting what people buy.
Absolutely. It's about aligning your values with where you spend your money. And that this ties into what Wendy Woods in her TED Talk calls total societal impact,
Okay.
which I think is really interesting. She makes the case that this whole traditional idea of CSR, like just tacking on a donation to a marketing campaign, it's kind of being surpassed by something much bigger.
Okay, so unpack that a little bit. Total societal impact. Like for someone who's not, a business expert, what does that actually mean?
So, in a nutshell, it means that companies need to look beyond just their profits. They need to really consider the impact they're having on everything, the environment, their employees, even down to the communities where they get their raw materials, everything.
So it's like this ripple effect. They're responsible for the whole pond, not just their little corner of it.
Exactly. And you know what's really cool about this whole approach? It's not just about being ethical, which obviously is important, but it's about finding smarter ways to do business, more sustainable ways.
I like that. Finding those win-wins.
Absolutely. It's like not either or, but both and.
Okay, I'm with you. But I need to see it in action.
Ah.
What does this like total societal impact thing actually look like? Give me an example.
Sure. So let's take something like waste reduction in manufacturing.
Okay.
So a company might really analyze its processes, right?
Yeah.
Like where a material is being wasted, and then they implement leaner practices, more efficient practices.
Gotcha.
Now, this obviously reduces their environmental footprint, which is huge, but it also saves them money.
Right. Less waste, lower costs.
That-
Everybody wins.
Exactly. Or let's say employee well-being, right?
Right.
That's a huge part of this total societal impact idea.
For sure.
Companies that invest in things like fair wages, good benefits, professional development opportunities, they tend to see much higher morale and better retention rates.
Which means they're not spending as much on constantly having to hire and train new people.
Exactly. Plus, happier, more engaged employees, they tend to be more productive.
Yeah.
And they often provide better customer service. It's this like positive feedback loop.
And what about the supply chain part of this whole thing? Because that feels like a big one for a lot of companies.
Absolutely. Consumers are more aware than ever about where their products come from, how they're made, and who's making them.
Yeah.
They want to know that the people involved in every stage of the process are treated fairly, paid a living wage, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And this is putting pressure on companies to really examine their supply chains and move towards ethical sourcing, even if it means maybe a slightly higher cost up front for them.
So it's like not just about writing a check to a charity at the end of the year. It's baked into how they do business from the start.
Exactly. It's understanding that a company's impact goes way beyond just, their immediate operations.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that they have this responsibility to their employees, to the planet, to these communities where they work.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
And it really seems like consumers are starting to get that too. Like we're seeing more and more people putting their money where their values are.
Oh, absolutely. Consumers are much more discerning now.
Yeah.
They're not just taking a company's word for it. They're doing their research. They're demanding transparency.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
It's really interesting to see, actually. It's like this feedback loop, right?
Hmm.
Consumers pushing companies to do better, and that in turn fuels even more conscious consumerism.
Yeah, it's like this whole movement towards conscious consumerism. I feel like we're hearing that term more and more. It's not just about what we buy, it's about all the stuff behind it, right?
It's recognizing that we as consumers have power.
Yeah.
Every time we buy something,
Yeah.
we're supporting a certain way of doing business.
So basically, doing good is not just some nice add-on. It's not just a marketing ploy. It's actually becoming essential to how businesses operate.
Absolutely. The companies that are going to succeed are the ones who realize that profit and purpose, they're not at odds with each other.
Totally. They can work together.
Yeah. It's about finding that sweet spot where business success and positive impact go hand in hand.
Love that. Okay, so here's something to chew on, everyone. The next time you're at the store trying to decide what to buy, don't just look at the product itself. Take a second, do a little digging, and think about the company behind it. Do they actually walk the walk? You know what I mean? It might change your mind about what you buy, and you never know. It could even help change things for the better, one purchase at a time.